Hello, everyone. My name is Les Vinogradov. I am a cultural manager and co-founder of the Zapravka initiative for art residency support. Welcome to How to Inhabit Instability, the first online showcase of Ukrainian art residencies organized by Zapravka in cooperation with Res Artis, worldwide network of arts residencies. The title of today's event mirrors the title of the Res Artis Conference that was to take place in Kyiv, Ukraine, in September 2022 as a joint project of IZOLYATSIA, Platform for Cultural Initiatives, House of Europe, Goethe-Institut in Ukraine, and the Ukrainian Institute. As you may guess, that event never happened due to the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. However, the meaning of our title and the whole premise of introducing Ukrainian art residencies to the professional community around the globe did not lose its relevance. Quite on the contrary, this ongoing war has shown that cultural initiatives are indeed capable of inhabiting instability, adapting to the harshest conditions, and thriving in times of even the greatest crisis. Today, we will hear five first-hand stories of Ukrainian art residencies, their lives and activities before and during the full-scale war. We will also briefly introduce Zapravka and give you a little bit of context about the residency landscape in Ukraine in general. To save time, we will kindly ask you to leave your questions in the Q&A section of our call, and we will be happy to answer them all in the final part of our meeting. I would like to remind you that the language of today's meeting is English, so please ask your questions in English as well, if that is possible, of course. This event is being recorded, and you will all receive a link to the video afterward. We encourage you to share it with your colleagues who could not attend today. Last but not least, today's reality of Ukraine is that at any point during our event, an air raid alarm may start. And we strongly suggest all of our participants from Ukraine be mindful of the alerts and move to a shelter if necessary. And now it is my absolute pleasure to give the floor to Josephine Mead, the Communication and Program Coordinator at Res Artis. Josephine, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Les. So I'm calling from Res Artis Worldwide Network of Arts Residencies, and I'm calling in from Jajawarang country today, which isn't too far from Wurundjeri country, where our international Australian headquarters is based. So we're a 30-year-old network of arts residency operators from all over the globe, and our network comprises of more than 650 vetted members in over 80 countries. We're the worldwide professional body for the field, ensuring sustainability and growth by providing resources for our members, and we support and connect residencies, engage and advocate for the importance of arts residencies in today's society, and provide recommendations towards cultural mobility research and policy. And we're committed to building an arts residency sector that centres access, inclusion and sustainability. And as Les mentioned, we were going to hold our 2022 conference in Kyiv. And when we devised a title for the conference, we could never have imagined the horrific events that have since unfolded. As Les mentioned, the conference was cancelled. Res Artis redirected our resources that would have brought the conference to fruition to promote the work of our partners and like-minded organisations that were working to offer aid and emergency residencies over the past few years. And we believe that arts residencies are founded on principles of intercultural understanding, diversity and cross-cultural exchange, and that they have the ability to transcend borders. We were deeply touched to see our members from all over the globe working to offer support to Ukrainian artists and cultural workers. And we've been really inspired by the strength of Ukrainian artists and arts residency programs who have been uncompromising in their dedication to the creation of new work and to finding models for exchange, despite the circumstances of war that they've been found within. At Res Artis, we've been running regional meetings to ascertain the needs, problems and possibilities that are faced by residency hosts in certain geographic locations. And it's a real pleasure and privilege to be able to hear from an amazing group of Ukrainian voices today. So thank you all. Pass back to you, Les. I'm looking forward to hearing from you all.
Thank you so much, Josephine. And before we give the mic to the residencies, just a few words about who we are. And please let me share my screen for a second. So Zapravka is an interinstitutional initiative for art residency support that was founded in 2020. We are in a somewhat unique position of being essentially a grassroots initiative of a bunch of middle program managers who happen to work in the three biggest institutions supporting residencies in Ukraine: the Ukrainian Institute, the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, and the House of Europe program of the European Union. And we got together to make our institutions better attuned to the needs of art residencies in Ukraine and set the following goals for Zapravka: increasing the visibility of Ukrainian art residencies, both domestically and internationally, raising the professional standards of residency programs in Ukraine, and finally, informing the Ukrainian and international professional community about the opportunities that exist for artists, curators, and other professionals in the arts and culture sector. We started as a small quartet, but now we are already 8 and growing. Our team always has members from the founding institutions, plus independent experts for good measure. Over the years, we have added 17 Ukrainian residencies to the Trans Artists international database, and at the same time created an online map, Residencies UA, which you can see here, that now features 34 locations. We also have a format called Coffee with Zapravka. These are free consultations for art residency organizers, especially the emerging ones who need guidance. And finally, our latest project has been the toolkit on organizing art residencies in Ukraine, which we released in September 2023. It's the first Ukrainian language manual made specifically for cultural managers who are willing to start an art residency program in Ukraine, based on the experience of existing Ukrainian residencies and taking into account all the specificity and potential pitfalls of doing it in Ukraine. The residency organizers, who you will hear in a moment, are among those who we interviewed to create our toolkit, and those who were its first readers. So it's actually our immense pleasure to hear them today once again. But I will stop here and give the floor to my colleagues, Lina Romanucha and Anastasia Manulak, who will talk more about the residency landscape of Ukraine.
Thank you, Les. I will also share the screen with you. And as the main audience, it's like international, so we decided to make brief history information about development of residencies in Ukraine. And actually, we decided to start it from Soviet time because just to economy your time. And here you see a few photos. It's from Kyiv, Cherkasy region. And here you can see that starting from 1930 years, Soviet Union organized sort of plein airs around the Soviet Union to have possibility somehow influence on the art field, and also to control the main narratives which artists can produce during their artworks. So actually art was perceived as a propaganda tool. And here is a few more photos from different regions of Ukraine. It's the Carpathian Mountains. So usually these plein airs happened in the summertime. And actually one of the most famous, probably it's plein air in the village Sedniv, because a different generation of Ukrainian artists worked there. And also at the end of 80s, there was a movement when additionally to this plein airs were added educational program, and in such way we can say that it was sort of first prototypes of residencies. And surely these residencies also very much influence on the art field and landscape of Ukraine. And one of the results we can say it's like Part Kommuna squad, where also this movement influence on artistic wave and expression of artists. And actually later on the participants of this community was the one who visited international residency, and one of them was a residency in Munich. And also very important role played Soros Center of Contemporary Art, which was based in Kyiv. Because of the financial support, there was a huge movement in contemporary art, and they provided a lot of lectures as well, and greatly influence on contemporary art scene in Ukraine. And here we come to nowadays, and this is photos of private residency extended history of Muzychi. And we are happy that we today have Alevtina with us, and she will say you more about her residency. But actually it was one of the first artistic residency in Ukrainian territory. And 1 year later, IZOLYATSIA Foundation, it was an example, and it is example of institutional residencies. They were based in Donetsk, but in 2014 were forced to move to Kyiv and change their focus from like thematic residency, group residency to private. And in 2014, it was a huge and important event in history of Ukraine, Revolution of Dignity, Euromaidan, which also very much influenced on Ukrainian artistic field. And we can say that there is two main things which changed after that. First of all, it was a movement for decentralization, so regions get more power and more independence, and also its influence on culture policy, because in Ukraine appeared at least two very important institutions, Ukrainian Culture Foundation, who support to provide transparent process of grant support for culture and art field, and also Ukrainian Institute, whose aim was to present Ukrainian culture abroad. Actually we can say also that the lot and grant which provide Ukrainian Culture Fund was dedicated to residencies, and we can see that its influence on development and rise as a mushrooms, a lot of new residency, and people start to use more this tool as a format. And when we faced full-scale invasion, surely Zapravka have this mission to monitoring what had happened with residencies in Ukraine field. And here is like few like results of this first monitoring, and also here you can see images and of Alevtina Kakhidze. And actually, the reality is that after full-scale invasion, 42% of residencies stopped their activities, or let's say put their activity on hold, and only 25 of them they continued to function in some way, and biggest part were transformed for shelters, and sometimes it also were shelters for their teams. And if we talk about regional differences, surely if we like residences which stopped their activity, they were mostly situated to the Russian border, but here we can also face such phenomenon as like personal aspect, because we know that the founder of Yermilov Center, for example, she organized her residency in Sumy region in a private house and also hosted their artists. So it's mean that even in the face of danger, people still keep working in artistic field and supporting their environment. And the main problems which were in those time, it's also influence on team that a lot of people move abroad and some of them start to be a part of Ukrainian army. But generally, it's a question of sustainable support because usually financial support was like emergency type. Surely people lost physically space and funds. Specifically, it's dedicated to Mariupol and Kharkiv. It's absolutely was impossible to plan future, and still we are like happy that we survive one day, and that's why long-term planning is something not possible now in Ukraine. And surely people, because of the big psychological tension, need this mental support. And also war influence on the focus of residencies, people afraid to take responsibility of life for foreigners, and surely mostly focus of Ukrainian residencies were on local artists. So I will stop on this moment and will provide the word to my colleague Anastasia.
Thank you, Lina, for such a very short, but I think very intense presentation of what had happened in Ukrainian art in general during the last at least 30 years. So as an initiative, we are in constant communication with Ukrainian residencies. It is important for us to keep this dialogue, to monitor the situation, to keep tracks of changes that are happening in the landscape of residencies. And we understand that these tendencies that Lina had just mentioned are also very typical for Ukrainian residencies right now, but due to the very challenging times that Ukrainian art scene and society in general are facing right now, there are some changes that happened during last year, for example. So if summarizing our communications and monitoring of the situation for Ukrainian residencies during 2023, we would say that changes that began in the landscape of Ukrainian residences since the beginning of full-scale invasion that had finally appeared very visible. Art residencies that ended up in the occupied territories had to cease their activities, namely those that were situated in Mariupol or Donetsk region. Residencies in the cities close to the front line have transformed their activities and now mainly work with local artists and teenagers, like residencies in Dnipro and Kharkiv, and we'll hear a little bit more of that from the experience of, for example, Artsvit Art Center and art residencies in the west part of Ukraine, which immediately after the beginning of full-scale invasion focused their activities more on humanitarian functions like sheltering artists and just people from occupied territories, now are gradually turning to their usual activities, usual working format with curated residencies, but still mainly work only with Ukrainian artists. Nevertheless, some residencies dare to host foreign guests and arrange some kind of short-term international hybrid residencies, but it's not very typical due to obvious reasons. Residencies that had an institutional basis transformed their activities and currently organize projects for internally displaced persons or are residencies for Ukrainian women artists abroad or online residencies, for example. In general, there is this shift and decline in activities during the second year of full-scale invasion in Ukraine. Right now, prevailing formats include DIY format and individual initiatives, which are constantly looking for grants to support their activities, are planning and supporting the team. Many residencies exist just as long as there is an external funding from international donors like Goethe-Institut, Austrian Ludwig Foundation, D6, Culture in Transit, British Council in Ukraine, UNESCO, or CEC Arts Link, for example. And this affects sustainability and the possibility of long-term planning for institutions and residencies. Among the urgent requests in addition to funding, is the search and arrangement of relatively safe places for arranging residencies. Since many people are forced to leave Ukraine, there is this feeling of lack of personnel and managers. It's also very relevant. And among other material needs are, for example, replacement of electrical wires and networks, permanent administration of web resources, the need for transport like cars and bicycles to ensure mobility of team and residents, and so on. And so for dissemination of information, art residencies in Ukraine are also interested in platforms of international mass media for distribution and dissemination of materials, information, texts about their activities. And during this period, during last year, new residencies actually appeared, like Platforma Ostriv in Kyiv and Art Center Gem Factory in Lviv just renewed their activities in the sphere of residencies. There is this tendency towards diminishing value of historical continuity in because for many initiatives, it is easier to organize something new than to put effort in maintaining existing residencies, for example. So the main strategy for further activities of many residencies consists of finding safe locations for residencies, and actively applying for grants to ensure some sustainability in their activities, supporting collaboration with foreign partners, mainly those they had before the full-scale invasion, and developing joint projects, and if possible, delegating this administrative issues to their foreign partners and their teams. So that's in short the situation where we stand on, but with great pleasure, I would give the floor to our invited speakers to share more from their own experience.
Thank you, Nastia. And now I would like to invite our first speaker, Iryna Polikarchuk, who will talk about her residency Artsvit in Dnipro. And I just would like to remind everybody, we have this Q&A section at the bottom of the app, if you're using the app, and you're welcome to leave your questions there. And at the end of our meeting, we will gladly answer them all. So, Iryna, the floor is yours now.
Dear colleagues, thank you for having me today. I'm pleased to tell you more about our institution and the Artsvit Gallery residency program. Let me share my screen just for a second, just a second. Yeah. Once again, my name is Iryna Polikarchuk. I'm director and the program curator of the Artsvit Gallery in Dnipro. Dnipro, this is the city which is located closer to the eastern part of Ukraine and that borders a front line. Nowadays, here you can see a screenshot from the website with the current map of Ukraine and the current situation on the front line. So you can see that we are really pretty close to the most escalated part of Ukraine. Anyway, we continue our work offline, and now I will tell you how used to work our residency program and how it transformed after February 24th. Opened in 2013, Artsvit Gallery has become one of the first contemporary art venues in the Dnipropetrovsk region, and now it transformed into an essential platform for ideas cultivation and cultural exchange for Ukrainian and international art. We work on exhibitions, educational programs, researches, collection of Ukrainian art, and residencies. The gallery is focused on social critical art. We support and develop the policy of decentralization, work with local context and public spaces as well, support and develop creative community in Dnipro. Together with the team of the NGO Kultura Medialna, we created a concept of the cultural center, and in 2021, Artsvit Gallery has moved to the Dnipro Center for Contemporary Culture and became one of its residents. After 24th February 2022, the gallery transformed into a social hub for a couple of months, but on June restarted its cultural program. Until 2019, we held several individual residencies which still needed to be formalized as a program, but they had focus on the post-Soviet and post-industrial heritage of the city of Dnipro. But in 2019, we founded the residency program. It had a component of non-formal education, work in groups under the guidance of experienced curators, Ukrainian and international, and a focus on the city of Dnipro and the region. In 2019-2021, with the support of the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, 5 residencies were held for visual art artists, curators, performers, and researchers of urban space. Programs of lectures, workshops, and discussions ended with public events, such as exhibitions, performances, tours, presentations, etc. And 2 of 5 residencies were held in cooperation with the German organizations, involved in performance. It was in 2020 and 2021. In 2020, the residency took place online due to the restrictions of COVID-19, and in 2021 it took place offline in Dnipro. So we had residents from Ukraine and from Germany. Due to the full-scale invasion of Russia into Ukraine, we cancelled the planned residencies in 2020. Because we had to change our program, and also we had to consider the safety situation. In 2023, we attempted to resume work on this direction in the circumstances of full-scale invasion. In the summer last year, together with the Dnipro Center for Contemporary Culture and NGO Kultura Medialna, we held a residency for emerging artists living in Dnipro or the region. These are both local figures and those who moved to Dnipro from more dangerous cities. Due to safety issues, we didn't accept participants from other regions from Ukraine. The residency had a career orientation focus. Within the program, various experts, curators, artists, researchers share their own experiences and practices. Also, they shared experience how to cooperate with curators and institutions, how to create CV and portfolio, search for residencies, and various educational programs. They also prepared a joint zine, and the presentation of this zine took place last Saturday in Artsvit. The meeting with experts took place online and offline, and all the practices and workshops were offline in Artsvit. In 2024, this year, we continue to look for the format of residencies in realities of war. And this year, for example, in cooperation with the Sunflower Initiative and the Museum of Modern Art in Warsaw, we will hold a residency for artists in Dnipro and Warsaw in April-June. The format of the residency says that we will have 5 participants in Dnipro and another 5 participants in Warsaw. They will have joint online events, practical tasks, and separate on-site workshops. And the residency will conclude with a cooperative program in Warsaw and public events. They are in Warsaw and also in Dnipro. This residency will have a focus on developing artists' practice on the background of war, integration into new communities, and opportunities to expand their practices in working with new media, for example. We plan to launch an open call for this residency in coming days. So in the face of the full-scale invasion, we decided that this residency program has to be restarted, but we are still looking for new formats because due to safety reasons, we can't perform it the way we planned before. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Iryna. Again, if you have questions to Iryna, please feel free to leave them in the Q&A section. And now I would like to give the floor to Alyona Karavay, who will talk about their project, Assortment Room from Ivano-Frankivsk. Alyona, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Hello, I just wanted also to use the chance to say hello to all of the colleagues and partners who are here, also to Ira, Alevtina, whom I have not seen for some time. It's very nice to see you, at least like that. Yeah, and it was very nice, like also to hear like this timeline which Lina presented, just to see the continuation of the residences and how they appeared. And when I was looking on that, I remembered that the first residencies that I coordinated was the residency of IZOLYATSIA in 2011, the residency Partially Cloudy, curated by Boris Mikhailov. And a lot of the things that I learned there, I brought them later on to Ivano-Frankivsk, to the things that we are doing. So it's not like appearing by itself, it's appearing because of this continuation, which is very important. Let me share the screen and tell you shortly what we are doing. Yeah, I hope you can see it. It's Assortment Nakimnata, and we are based in western part of Ukraine, in the city of Ivano-Frankivsk, which is closer to Lviv and closer to Polish border. But the closest point for us are the mountains, the Carpathian Mountains, and we are in a way trying to use it or to get advantage of it also due to our events. We actually were formed in 2018, and we are a pretty diverse group of people. Some of us are IDPs, like people who moved from eastern part of Ukraine in the beginning of the war in 2014. Some of us are people who are locally here, so it's a very bright, like in a way, group of people. And we started to work here actively in 2018. And from 2019, we started to make residencies. Since that time, we have done 12 of them. The first one in 2019 was in frames of the local rave festival. So basically, we were working a little bit more with the city and with the formats that we know from some, as we call it, previous life, the life before COVID and before the full-scale invasion. And then pretty fast, the pandemic came. And then we started to make more residences in our co-shared space, Hata Maisternia. We are lucky to have the space which we are co-sharing with the owners of the space as for now for 8 years, and we continued it for more. This is a house in Carpathian Mountains where we have 25 beds. 25 people can sleep there, but when we do artistic residencies, we try to do something around 10 to 12 people. But of course, in 2022, it was like all set, and there were people sleeping everywhere. But in 2020, when the pandemic started, due to the space, we could do an offline residency in June. It was June 2020. And we have done it according to all of the current regulations in Ukraine. In that times, only 4 people could come together. Like the participants of this residency had the quarantine before they came to residency. 1 week, they came with 1 car, they stayed in this house. And the local owners were not there because we did not want to put them into risk to come into connection with the residents. And residents stayed there for more than 1 month. And it was a residency without name, but then it was called Desperate Acts. And this is what they were doing in a way there. They were doing desperate acts, trying to figure out how art can function when we do not meet each other. It was then the point when it was functioning. If you come on this link, I will send it later on to the chat, you can see some photos of it. Yeah, and then basically we started to work with the space more. We have done 1 more performative residency, but then 2022 came and the residency started to be more urgent response residencies, especially in 2022. We have done 3 residencies. The first one, which started on the 28th of February, was super unplanned one. It was a very urgent response one. It was a residency with just the artists who came to Ivano-Frankivsk and who happened to be there. And it was curated by Lesia Homenko, who also happened to be in Ivano-Frankivsk and did not know us. And we just found all each other. And it was a residency which we thought would be lasting for a few weeks, because the full-scale invasion would be lasting for a few weeks, but it lasted for 3 months. Overall, like around 30 artists were coming through this residency. And in this residency, somehow, also not planned, we created an exhibition which was then touring through different Ukrainian and European cities. And we were happy that the last destination, final destination, was Dnipro with Iryna, Polikarchuk and Artsvit. We also could show it. It was super important for us that we go west and then go as east as possible with this exhibition. And one change was for us that before 2022, we were working super process-oriented. In our residencies, we try to see how we not overproduct. How do we do a residency without footprints, without production? It was also the residency in 2020 when the artists were working with the nature and also trying not to leave as less roots, as less footstep as possible. And since the full-scale invasion, it's changed and changed organically because the artists wanted to produce more. Probably it was a compensation effect of everything what is destroyed. And of course, we cannot compensate the art pieces which are lost, but it's like the compensation reaction to produce more and more. And we faced the very new for us situation when each residency that we have done after 2022 was creating a lot of the physical production. And we started also like to work with that. It was a new situation for us. We never worked with such big amount of produced pieces. And yeah. The most residencies were concentrated for artists inside Ukraine because we know that at least half of the artists have difficulties to come outside of Ukraine. We also started to have emphasis on male artists, although before full-scale invasion, we used to be a project space mostly concentrated on the support of female artists. And we also started to work, like not started, last year we have done also urgent residencies for artists from some regions. For example, we had an extra separate residency for artists from southern regions. But also simultaneously with that, last year we started to invite foreign artists and foreign experts. It was also said that it's super challenging now also to work with foreign artists. The residencies that we have done last year, especially the residency about peripheries and summer, 1/3 of the group were international artists. We were also doing visits to Kyiv for curators and artists and have had small groups of people, around 5 to 6 people coming to Kyiv and visiting also artists and residencies. With one of the group, we were in the residency of Alevtina, we were visiting it and so on. And of course, it's connected with a lot of enormous safety issues. But for us, it's important to do that. And in that way, how to say it, we are dealing with foreign experts and artists also as we're dealing with Ukrainian ones. They are in the same risk, they are in the same space. And of course, we do medical insurance and so on, but this is what we also communicate to them, that even in Ivano-Frankivsk, even in mountains where we are, we cannot guarantee that it's 100% safe, because there are no safe places right now in Ukraine. Yeah, but this is what is important for us to work with, also with international artists and curators who understand these risks and are ready to go with these risks. Yeah, this is more or less basically everything. From 2022, we were working with different topics. We were having residencies without topic. We were having a residency about future. I think it was a very ambitious idea to have a residency about future in August 2022. And we had a residency about commemoration and a residency about peripheries. These are mostly like our topics that we are moving in. yes, would be happy to hear your questions. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much, Alyona. So we stay in the western region of Ukraine, and our next presenter is Lyudmyla Nychay, who will talk about Nazar Voitovich art residence in the village of Travneve and Ternopil region. Lucy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, dear colleagues and guests. I'm Lucy. I'm co-founder and curator Nazar Voitovich Art Residency, which has been a biggest and most enduring project of my life. And now I try to share with you my journey with NVAIR for the past 7 years. I just share my screen. Okay, let's start. We had been established. I see my screen. It's okay.
Yes.
Yes. We had been established in 2017 in collaboration with the NGO Congress of Culture Activists and NGO Families of Heroes of the Heavenly 100 in honor of the youngest boy who was shot in Maidan in the process of revolutionary dignity. Residency, sorry, I tried to, okay. The residency is located in a birthplace of Nazar Voitovich in the Ternopil region in the western part of Ukraine. Before the full-scale war started, we established a partnership with institutions with the same mission and values for exchange of art residency program for emerging artists and presentation abroad. Other partners became the Kakhidze Chekhov European Center of Contemporary Art raised in Munich and Berlin-based gallery Litte House. What is NVAIR and how does it look? We work in and with a rural area. We have 2-floor buildings with studios and living spaces in Travneve village's Barash community. We have created a cozy sanctuary for creativity and relaxation, for meeting with the local community and for sharing experience. And of course, we try to inspire artists of modest condition and simplicity of their village vibe, encourage them to research hidden context and history. The core, or I named it the corazon of the other project, it's me and Yura Voitovich, it's Nazar's father. Together we developed this project in the local and international level. We aim to support emerging Ukrainian artists through collaborative project, international exchanges and presentation. We focused on the site-specific research, commemoration, collaboration, stereotype breaking initiatives, overcoming isolation, and providing the local community with access to the contemporary art. Here I try to visualize the blends of money and effort of different sources for all time they exist. However, I want to highlight what we achieved like relative sustainability when the local community accepted us as a local art center in 2021. Unfortunately, we have the specificity every year we add another new practice or algorithm, different formats. Of course, I like it, but if it happens very forced, I always feel myself like playing the chess with the universe. You see, the 3 first years we developed other project, and COVID happens and we shifted to the virtual experience and additional challenges with the war. It stopped all real life international programs, but we are still alive and I dream to run in virtual global program again. And I have some plan for these years. Of course, about the best years for the full programs and the best experience what we had, it's with 2019 before COVID time. Of course, we had all Ukrainian full-funded program, 2 cohort of international program, and 3 local exhibition, and 15 public workshops for local citizens. We had a big group exhibition in the Kyiv, and finally we organized a networking weekend for discuss art mobility. I'm delighted to share with Boyana Panevska was so kind and joined us and conducted 2 workshops for other artists and other manager of culture who try to start the residency program. I was totally exhausted and our happy at the same time after that years. And of course, the karmic motto of my NGO, be the change, like Mahatma Gandhi says, I had worked again. And first challenge, it's COVID. After COVID, I think after deep depression, I made my best decision, moved to the virtual experience. After I had conferences, global networking, new people, and inspiration. And the next challenge, of course, it's war, unexpected and horrific. My residency became the sanctuary for artists and their families. My rescue mission should have been better, but I haven't even the bomb shelter. And I decided to push my forced residents to do art, not just read about the war. I tried to provide them with something valuable, so I decided to teach them to become artists under any circumstances. And we delved into the NFT ecosystem as a means to combat total isolation. But it was a time of losses and disappointment, and my biggest loss, it was my team. Now my team around the world, and yes, I think it's not just my problem. And after that half-year residency was closed due to the blackout. In the spring last year, I received an offer from abroad to come to my residency for a 5-day program. And I was very stressed about that, but after I many times asked people if they understand where they're traveling, it was the women writers from the United States and from Romania who wanted to talk about the Ukrainian context. They say, yes, we understand, we okay, we go to the Lviv, we organize some meetings, and we want to spend 5 days to hybrid art residency project. It means what they had a like online program speaking about some literature context, and after they had public meetings in Lviv. In the same time, it's happened in my residency. Start the new wave of the activities after the wartime started, and this program, both sides of the borders face east. I like understand what I can do something very useful for the residents who need some place for working. And the last thing what we organized in the Nazarbetovich in residency art residency was a program in partnership with Artists at Risk for 3 Ukrainian artists who lived with us 2 months. We organized for them the presentation, and they was very happy because they live in a very silent place after living in Kyiv, Dnipro, moved from Kherson and Kharkiv. Okay, during this all these challenges, I had made many new connections, and maybe which may become the partnership in the future. I dream to going back to the virtual global residency, and we could help Ukrainian artists if we find some money for the fee for them and for a new team. And thank you for attention, and we very appreciate for supporting Ukraine, and let's go to collaborate if you have the passion to work with Ukrainian institution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ludo. Now we're moving to the eastern part of Ukraine, and we will hear Nastia Khlestova, co-founder of 127 Garage that used to be based in Kharkiv. And Nastia, the floor is yours.
Hi, first of all, thank you, Zapravka team for the invitation, and thank all of you for coming. I will share my screen, and I will tell you a little bit about Garage, then what challenges we faced with the full-scale invasion, and then how we try to overcome them. So Garage is artist-run space. It was founded in 2019 in Kharkiv. Kharkiv is the second biggest Ukrainian city, and it's located, unfortunately, very close to Russia. So we were the city who faced Russian invasion in the amount of the first one. But back to 2019. So me and my partner Anton Tkachenko, who is an artist, we started Garage in our own garage as a space that can be the answer to the question that a lot of artists in Kharkiv had. As I told you, Kharkiv is the second biggest Ukrainian city. We have a lot of artistic educational institutions, but unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of exhibitional venues. And especially we didn't have anything that would be focused on emerging artists, and it was our focus as curatorial duo since 2015. So Garage was founded as the space for emerging artists and became a safe space for the community that we created throughout the years. As the funding, we first, of course, as any artist-run space, we were self-funded, but of course, after some years, we started to receive grants and we started crowdfunding. You can also help us to crowdfund Garage. I will share our Patreon with you. And since it was a real garage, as you can see, we faced some restrictions. We only worked during the warm season. And that means that we started probably in April, and we had our last project in the year around October. We tried to do an event every second week, and we always had some openings and events on weekend because we were not located in the city center. We were in suburban area. Our residency came in 2019 as the very logical continuation of our work, because since we're working together as curators and Anton as an artist, we knew people from art scene in Ukraine, and we wanted them to come to Garage. So in 2019, Bogdan Bunchak was the first resident. Our residency was very small and grassroots, if I can name it so. It was self-funded, of course, and it was short-term. That means that all the artists who were coming, they came for a short period of time, around a week or 10 days. They were working on their exhibition in Garage, and then they left. All the artists stayed in our house and worked in our garage. So I would say it was a baby residence. Me and Anton were working before with bigger institutions on bigger residences, but for us and for Garage, it was essential to have this very homey feeling, the feeling of something very on the tips of your fingers, to have the communication with the artist, to have the connection with the artist, and of course to work together with our community to have the direct connection. All our residencies always were production based. In 2020, we launched our project first exhibition, which was dedicated to emerging artists who had their first solo exhibition in our space. And the artists who took part in this project and came from other cities. For example, Evgen, he came from Kyiv. They also could stay in our place, and it was somehow collaboration between our residency program and our other programs. In 2022, after the full-scale war in Ukraine started, we faced a lot of challenges because, as I told you, Garage was mainly focused on our space and our community. For us, it was very hard to understand how we can exist without the space. Me and Danton left Kharkiv in, I think, right on 24th of 2022, and we had moved to first to the west of Ukraine, and then I went to Graz, to Austria. I've been invited to work in Office Ukraine, which is an organization supporting Ukrainian artists in Austria. So our main question was how we can continue working and what we can do to support our community. First, we launched some questionnaires. So we collected the information and we found out that the first thing people needed was money and some safe spaces. As safe spaces, I could provide with my work in Austria, of course, only for female artists or artists who could left Ukraine, not for everyone who asked. And with the financial support, we struggled ourselves. From this question, some answers, we came up to some answers. First of all, our Weaving project, where we connect artist-run spaces throughout Ukraine, and there we support the communities of artist-run spaces. We try to fundraise some money for that and to make the communities grow. And the second project that we launched last year is Home Residency program, which is the Residencies in collaboration with Rotor Art Center from Graz. And since I work with the community of Ukrainian artists based now in Graz, I see the problems that they face. And one of the biggest problem is the lack of communication with the artists and the art scene, which is still in Ukraine. So combining these two problems, we came to the solution where we invited 5 artists from Ukraine who are still in Ukraine and 5 artists from Ukraine who are now based in Graz to work together on the joint project. And one of the main things was to make these voids between art scene who left Ukraine and art scene who is still in Ukraine smaller, just in the small scale as we always work. Today, actually, the last artist from these 5 who are coming is leaving, so we are just on the end of our residency. It was also the production-based residency because as a small initiative, we know that it's so much easier to fundraise money for the production-based residencies. It's always so. And of course, the second thing why we wanted the new production to be created, because as we are located not in Ukraine, but in Graz, in Austria, we wanted to have some message for locals, for Austrians, and our exhibition from the projects that were created during the residency would be shown in light boxes in the public space at the end of February. So for us, it was important to connect Ukrainian artists with public space outside of Ukraine. We hope to continue this program, and actually now we fundraise for 2024. Right after, we will collect feedbacks from artists who already participate, and I think that this is a very small part of what Ukrainian residencies can do. But as Garage started as something small and very focused, on local community, we are continue like this. And yeah, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please tell me or contact us.
Thank you, Nastia. And now over to our last speaker for today. So this is going to be Alevtina Kakhidze, who is the founder of the oldest existing art residency in Ukraine, the Muzychi Expanded History project, based in the village of Muzychi near Kyiv. And it is my absolute pleasure to invite Alevtina to talk.
Yeah, hello. We'll start with some images, and it looks like I founded the oldest residency in Ukraine, my pleasure. And wait. So, can you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, the background to initiate the first residency in Ukraine was that I'm an artist and I visited many residences before, and I really love it. And I understand that it's impossible to exist as an artist when you are not sharing idea with other people. And in certain moment, I understand that I'm tired of traveling, and I decided to be more and more at home. And then I just imagine that I can be at home and to do a residency at home and can travel through the guests, through the residence, and being in the spot, and then the whole world can be around me. So this was the idea. And basically it worked out. And at that time when I had this dream, we were building a house with my husband, and I already had this plan in my mind. And at the right, you can see our house, and at the left, actually, a house for my studio. And then I had the idea that basically I will sacrifice my studio for some time for a residency. And basically, it works in a way that 10 months is my studio and 2 months is a residency. So let's show you more. So this is the house for my studio and basically also for a residency program. So it's small one, and then you can see how it is inside. There is one room for a studio and kitchen and bathroom, and of course a bedroom. And as you already understand that my house is the next door, which is very easy to run, to drink coffee and to see if my resident is at home, if the windows with light, or, you know, it's very practical. And here it's like inside, but also we can try to travel a bit. Can you see my screen? It's coming?
Yes.
Yeah, I show you how it's inside, but in time when it's my actually studio, this certain moment. So, but of course I like to show you what is actually the location. As it was mentioned that my studio and where I do live, it's actually a village near Kyiv, 26 kilometers. It's really village. Pretty close, the capital of Ukraine, but it's still it's village. You can see it's pretty amazing nature spot. So actually here is our door to get yard, and this is a door for the residents. It's pretty separate. So my residents have their own life, no one control them, but if they want to be controlled, they ask. So this is how it looks like. This is the biggest room, and then we can travel inside. Here you see the small kitchen, and here the bathroom. And this is actually supposed to be a bedroom, but all my residents can change the rooms. Of course, they can decide by themselves. I mean, design the space. And here is very amazing spot of my actually studio residency program. It's archive of my 20 years of my practice, which sometimes it's also very important for anyone can apply for a residency program to research, not just me, but also research whatever was happening during 20 years in Ukraine, if to talk about art process. So
Alevtina, sorry, can you please try click on that link? Because I don't think we saw what you wanted to show, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can you try to click on the link now in the presentation?
Can you see it?
No, now you have to
I'm
probably close the presentation and
okay. I will. Can okay.
yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, so one more time. So the location, which is amazing, the nature. Can you see it, right?
Yes, now we can see it.
So it's a nature spot, but still it's 26 kilometers from the capital. He has the big room in the time when it's a studio, but also you can imagine how it could be for resident. And here we travel to the kitchen. See? Yes, small one, and the bath, and then the bedroom. But of course, the resident, as I mentioned, can design by themselves. And actually over here, there is also a archive of my artistic practice, and all residents can also go through. And sometimes we invite also curators or researchers, which is also could be very interesting, not because of my archive, but it also archive of Ukrainian art process. So I showed you the space, then let's go to the presentation again. And I like to really go through the, as was asked, the best, the most interesting projects or bombastic one. Yes, and so since my idea is really to share my studio, and I'm an artist who run the space, still I always say "win" because I do with my husband. So we wanted to imagine some concept. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
And we imagined that we call our residencies Muzychi Expanded History project. Our ideas was that anyone can come in the village. Of course, he or she can expand the history of this place. Very easy. And it works, basically. On the image, you can see the first, our resident is Stefka Aman from Germany, who actually donated a bike to our residency. Then the bike was used for another resident, Roland Roos from Switzerland, to use in his performance. And then his performance was very successful and was bought by a Swiss institution. And then this bike also went over there. You know, it works like this. So let's show you more. And this project, which was very interesting by Steve Scheppens from Belgium, and he found abandoned shed. You saw it's actually a village, and then he organized a disco club in this shed, which was absolutely amazing story for my neighbors. And I must tell that whatever is happening in our residency program, all neighbors are involved, and I almost sure that any residency program in little place, it's actually a model for social innovation. And then this abandoned shed was full of garbage, and Steve actually took all garbage from the shed and separated in different categories. He separated for wood, plastic, steel, and glass, and he inspired all my eco activists in the village to look on the waste sorting as an art. Till now, they do remember him. Why I decided to show just his project? Because unfortunately, Steve died in 2022 during whole-scale invasion, being in Brussels. But before the whole-scale invasion of Russia to Ukraine took place, he phoned me and was absolutely worried what would be with Ukraine. And this is the most important thing with the residency initiatives. When you once in a country, you're always with this country. When you once was in Ukraine, you always, all your heart with Ukraine now, when we have such a terrific stuff is going on. So Steve worrying about Russia would attack Ukraine. So, and I just had a conversation with him 2 days before. So another project is also very interesting. In Ukraine, we had decommunization law processes, if you know what it's about. So we try to actually somehow reflect our communistic part, or let's say totalitarian regime part. And in my village, we had Karl Marx Strasse or Karl Marx Street. And the law in Ukraine is so much about to reflect on it. And I ask all my residents who visited our residency program to write a bit about this. And when we had in our village, in the center of our mayor house, the meeting to talk about Karl Marx Street in our village, all my residents sent the text and I translated that and did read in Ukrainian. So somehow many of my residents also took part in the decommunization process. And you see all this actually signs of Karl Marx Street on the street not so far from the residency program actually were collected, and some of them went to Berlin, where there is also Karl Marx Street. So of course in Berlin no one wants to remove this name, but in Ukraine we have a bit different situation. But anyway, this was also very interesting how I involved residents who already left Ukraine but still with Ukraine. And of course, sometimes we also did crowdfunding projects when we tried to make crowdfunding campaign to collect money for residents from my neighbors, and it worked out. It was absolutely interesting to have this. But basically, to talk about financial model for my residency, we do suggest accommodation, I mean this place, and my assistant. But the rest, it's so much about from the resident to find the support of him, of her to come, but it also, we don't ask anything from them. No, any project can be done. As you remember, the whole idea of the residency just to come and expand the history of the village by your own presence. So, and what actually changed when the whole-scale invasion of Russia to Ukraine took place? Unfortunately, I was very much worried and didn't ask anyone to come, just suggested someone to apply to residency, and I could work on a distance to tell the stories about Ukraine, to involve people in decolonization process, many things I suggested, but then actually Japanese photographer decided to come. His name Ikuru Kawayama, and he many times said that he does understand the risk and wanted to come so much. So he came, and you can see him when we are visiting Bishop School, where a teacher on history or historian organized actually a museum where is a mixture of different objects. He is collecting some of objects from the Second World War and some objects from the recent war actions. So, and Iki is actually talking to him. So this is pretty intense time for him to visit some historians around my place in Kyiv region. And the next project, which actually took place in 2023, so I transformed my residency in actually a space where the kids which were stolen by Russia and then returned in Ukraine had a place to reflect what actually they experienced in Russia. So basically me and other artists in Kyiv, it was Lyosha Sai. So we did draw with them and they shared their stories. And at the moment, all their stories and drawing sessions will be part of the documentary movie, which is called The Blue Sweater with a Yellow Hole, directed by Tanya Khodakivska, and would be actually a case to show what Ukraine is experiencing. And The residency program actually hosted the kids, and we tried to help them to express what they actually had in their past, and it really works so well. So they didn't even plan to have this time to work together with artists, but it really was very helpful. It doesn't matter if they plan to be an artist or not. So it was partly art therapy processes, and then also I never say that they are kids, they had so much adult personalities, and then actually amazing people I met. So basically this is my stuff to share, and I'm happy to be with all of you, and I'm open for any questions, and my residency program also open to host anyone for sure online. And let's see what will be for 2024 in summer, as far as I understand that I do host resident in summertime. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alevtina. Thank you so much to all the presenters. So we now have our, unfortunately, quite brief Q&A session. So if you have questions to the presenters, please feel free to leave them in the Q&A section. I don't see any questions right now, so I will just have a round of my own for each presenter. Very briefly, maybe in under 1 minute, could you just say what's next for you? So what's the project you're currently working on? And whether you're looking for partners abroad, and maybe just explain in a few words what kind of partnership you are particularly interested in. If I may start with Iryna.
As I told earlier in my presentation, now we are looking for new formats of the residency, mostly because of safety reasons. It is really important for us to work with the social, cultural, social, political context of Dnipro region, influence of war, temporarily displaced people who came there. So it is really important for us to work in the field in the city of Dnipro, and that's why we are looking for formats that might be safe for our potential residents. For now, we consider cooperation with international institutions to implement residencies. For example, as we planned this year, in two different spaces. For example, in parallel in Dnipro and somewhere in Warsaw, Berlin, Prague, or like some other city, to start the residency together in parallel into different cities, and to finalize it, for example, in a European country, to make it safer, but to help our residents from Dnipro widen their knowledge, widen their experiences, meet new people, and have something new that could be helpful to develop their artistic practice when they come back to Dnipro. So yeah, talking about formats and partnerships, we are open to cooperation if people are interested to develop this partnership in two different places at the same time, for example, if we can't accept them in Dnipro.
Thank you very much, Iryna. Alyona, maybe you would like to share?
Yeah. We are currently only working on the program of the residencies for this year. This is also connected with the answers about finances that we are looking for, but like anytime we're still open to host people here. And we are like, for this year, we are concentrated on 3 things. All of them I could also, on 3 things. Like we would like to continue to invite foreign artists to Ukraine and to our space. This is number 1. Number 2, like as Nastia said, it's a big issue to work on the ties of Ukrainian community, which is here in Ukraine and which is abroad. And this is what we are also envisioning, to work also more with Ukrainian artists who are abroad or in exile, to bring them like more to Ukraine, or like to ensure this communication of this inside the community. And number three, the big topic is for us the inclusion. Last year, we already had the cases when we had an artist on the residency who was on rehabilitation. It was basically the artist who is on the front line. He was in Bakhmut before the residency. He was on our residency, created an artwork. And few weeks after the residency, he went back there. We had the case when we hosted an artist who is near Bakhmut and who was joining us online and working on poetry, and we also included it into our work. So for us, it's a big question and big need and big wish to include more Ukrainian artists who are working who are working, engaging in military, but still would like to continue the artistic practice. So like if anybody of you feel like you would like to connect on some of these points, we would be very open.
Thank you very much, Alyona. Lyudmyla?
Yes, thank you. You know, I think for me, it's more important now to dare to initiate some new project, because we have a lot of connections, a lot of possible partnership. But in the same time, I think for working with Ukrainian artists, I need an additional role in my team. It's like psychologist or therapist who can help people to live together with other people in other condition. And in the same time, because when I try to do that without this role, I feel my abilities, it's not enough, because I'm very tired. I can't to be and curator and manager and therapist, and I need more people for around some project for Ukrainian artists. In the same time, I plan to make an open call for artists from every country. If they have some self-founded ability to come to Ukraine, if they want, I can honestly present what we have, what condition we have. But in the same time, I think about the global online virtual residency for digital artists, because we have the ability to create after the presentation, and we have the partner in Munich, Freising, where they can present the digital art in the gallery. In the same time, we're very interested in that project. And yes, of course, I'm very proud, because after first digital residency, they equipped open gallery by digital equipment for presentation. It was very interesting, because Ukrainian artists inspired them to that. And yes, for me, it's more important now to finish my open project, because when my residency stopped, I a little bit dived to my open project, and I have a few exhibitions abroad and in Ukraine, and I must finish my project and back to. And at the same time, I have we applied now with Ukrainian partnership to the exchange. Internal exchange program with the Kharkiv and Ternopil regions.
Thank you very much, Lyudmyla. Nastia, very briefly, please. Oh, you switched off your mic.
Yeah. So at the moment, we are finalizing two big projects that we've been working last year. One is home residency, and we want to continue that. And for that, we will be happy to find partners outside of Ukraine who are working with Ukrainian artists in their countries. And for the second project, Weaving, where we connect artist run spaces inside Ukraine, we have a pretty big network already, and we want maybe to enlarge it. So we always are looking for artist run spaces everywhere.
Right. Thank you so much. Alevtina, also.
Yeah, actually, if anyone understands risk to be in Ukraine, you can come in August in Muzychi. You saw the place. It's up to you to come for maybe a week or 10 days. Before the host invasion of Russia to Ukraine, we host for a month. This was our regular practice, but now I understand it could be more problematic and exhausting. This first thing. Second, as I mentioned about that, I think it could be helpful if somebody applied to be e-resident. It means to be with our program on a distance. I think about a researcher or historian or theoretician or curator, and if there would be somebody who liked to research Ukraine in war on a practice level, how it works. For instance, Muzychi is actually belongs to Bucha region, so Irpin and Bucha very close. Actually, Russian army was stopped from my village like 1-2 kilometers or something like this. And if you notice, I showed you the 3D tour, and I love all this technology. If somebody needs to travel without traveling, so I can assist. Of course, it could cost money, but still, if you, I mean, potential resident, do worry about your own life, but it still be possible that you can travel through the technologies. I'm a big fan of it, really. So it could be possible that also, if you remember my archive I showed briefly, right? That it's also could be a case for anyone who will apply and to be a resident. I have a material about first revolution in Ukraine, 2004, second revolution of Ukraine, we called it Revolution of Dignity, Maidan, 2000, actually 13, 14, and also, be honest, 10 years of this war, because I'm from Donbass and the war started in 2014 in April, not in February 2022. So I also have a lot of material on it. So I do host this type of resident as well. These two things I can suggest, not more, just to be resident.
All right. Yeah, that's great already. Thank you so much. We have 3 questions from the audience, and I'm afraid we'll have to limit ourselves to 3 questions only. I will read them, and then it's up to our presenters to decide who would like to answer that. So we have a question from Anna. Please share your tips on how to stay mentally strong and motivated while working in the conditions with the minimal resources you have during these 2 years. If anyone would like to react to that. Can be a very brief answer.
I can share, but I'm in a better position because I moved out from Ukraine pretty early. So maybe I can share because I work with people who are coming often to Graz. And I think the main thing is to be kind to each other and to respect any experience you have. So that's my tip.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, we have a question from Tatiana Malinovska. Is it possible for residencies to collaborate with museums and institutions to show materials and archive results of residence history on the museum level and institutional level?
Basically, I open, as I already mentioned.
Yeah. Alyona, maybe you also.
Yeah, it's very much possible. I think like all of the colleagues will share that because museums are now empty and they are open for contemporary art.
Yeah. All right. And a question from Eduardo Cassina. Thank you all for the great presentations. I wonder if any of you who were running the residencies from before the full-scale invasion started had similar experience with former international residents to what Alevtina shared, like who were dedicated to Ukraine, perhaps came back to visit, or that somehow contributed to the war effort.
Like we have done the experiences with the people who came to us, they were...
Oh, your mic switched off.
Thank you. We had the experiences that people who came to us after the full-scale invasion, there were two groups. One group were people who were in Ukraine before and who knew us and who collaborated during like long time with Ukraine and who wanted like also to support their friends and colleagues. But we also had people who were completely new, who just who came to Ukraine because they got to know more, unfortunately, because of the full-scale invasion, and they were interested to come. Like we had both cases.
Yeah, maybe someone else would like to share, if you have this experience, of course.
But if to talk about Iki, basically he saw a rocket from the studio, and so it's hard, be honest. But from the other hand, I would tell that we have 25 wars on our planet, be honest. And me as an artist all the time is thinking that, I don't know, also again about the tip. So we have our world in a problem. And be honest, when you're in Ukraine and still remind to be in Ukraine, it's interesting how the residency can actually reflect on it, because residency program, it's the most important about to suggest something as alternative than journalism, to talk what our world is. And from one hand, it's like very tricky to invite somebody, but from the other hand, it's actually the main aim of any residency program as in general, to give the experience you never had in your own home country. So this is the thing. But from the other hand, I never can invite anyone without understanding this. This is most of the curators and artists decided to still to be in Ukraine, because otherwise you don't know anything about the world, which is very cruel. And unfortunately, hasn't changed having this way to still use weapon in 21st century. And it's still going on. And I don't know, me as an artist, what to do with this, but still it's not our Ukrainian story, it's global story.
Thank you so much, Alevtina. I think we have to end our today's meeting, and I would like to once again thank all the participants. Thanks to our audience who were very patient and stayed with us throughout the call. Technical details, so we will send all of you who registered for this event the recording of today's event, and again we encourage you to share it with your colleagues and friends and families. We will also share the contacts of all the residencies who presented today, so that you can always stay in contact with them in case you're interested to establish partnerships. And of course, we would like to thank Res Artists and Josephine personally for organizing this event, for making it possible. It's very important for us to create these platforms where Ukrainian voices can be heard. And we hope that this is but a first event of this kind in a series, as of course, these are not all the residencies that exist in Ukraine, and there are many other experiences to be shared. So we invite you all to follow Zapravka on Facebook, to follow our news, and to discover more about the Ukrainian cultural scene and the residency landscape. Thank you very much. and see you soon.